Hey everyone, recording this warning before the podcast starts. I do apologize. There are some major audio issues with this one. Specifically, Sinister is very quiet. Normally, when we record, his voice very much so overwhelms mine, and I need to balance out and kind of counteract that. I overacted, and now he is super quiet in this episode. So, my voice is just going to be tremendously louder than his. That being said, you can still hear him. We felt this episode was a really good episode. I do apologize. We had NSO Lyric, our audio engineer, go through it, and it was just not salvageable. When I say salvageable, I mean in order to correct it. So, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Into the New, hosted by myself, Cash, and Sinister from New School Originals. Today, we're going to be exploring, it's not a gaming environment per se, but it's going to be our, one of our special loves, and that's going to be Star Wars, specifically Order 66, and the idea of the chipped Star Wars canon event versus non-chip of what it used to be in Legends or Expanded Universe. For those that do not know, Order 66, it's when clone troopers turned on the Jedi, thus changing prequels to the original trilogy. In current canon, clone troopers are chipped, as seen in Clone Wars, and told execute Order 66, thus where they lose bodily autonomy and are forced to kill their Jedi generals. While prior, it was under the idea that they were trained to essentially follow orders to a T, not argue, and just be soldiers. So that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Sinister.
Yeah, so when you first brought up the idea of like how nerdy do we want the podcast going, I'm like, dude, we do an esports podcast. It get much nerdier. So Star Wars is right up the alley. But I have a perfect way to start this off. I'm going to try to recreate something I saw one of my buddies show me the other day, and I laughed way too hard in an inappropriate moment. Well, those are the best jokes anyways. So
Amen.
I want to take us on like a little vision walk together. All right, so like growing up is like loving the Jedi. It's like me, you, and Nova. We're talking about like, pro Mace Windu fan over here. And then you grow up and you realize like, God, that guy's a dick.
He's an asshole.
And so also with growing up, I have gained access to dark humor and a soundboard. So let's do this together. So I want us to remember the scene. It's one of the most iconic scenes from the Star Wars movies where during Order 66, Anakin goes into the Jedi Temple. And you get that like snotty little British kid, like, "Oh, Master Skywalker, they're killing the Jedi. What should we do?" And you just see like Anakin like with the dark like hood up. It looks like he's gonna tear up and cry because he's gonna kill younglings. And he just sparks the saber. So I want to start there, and I want to cue the montage. So just let's start with the saber getting popped, and I think this song encapsulates perfectly what happens next.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, you didn't hear it?
I didn't hear it.
Discord messed up again.
No, what?
Oh my god.
Oh, that sucks.
We've been having so much difficulty. Here's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna share screen.
Am I not sharing screen again? God.
You're not sharing screen.
Okay, hold on. Okay. All right,
this is real good. This is a real good start. You want a fun fact? Anakin was gonna save the kids until that little shit child called him master and reminded him that he was not the rank of master.
Oh my god, that makes this even better.
Just went into white blind fury.
All right, so cue white blind fury, and that sounds kind of racy, but
right against the edge. You're not sharing screen.
Is it what? Tell me.
You're not sharing screen. No.
I'm sharing screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna send you.
No, I'm on. No, all right, hold on. Go for it.
Okay. All right, here we go. Take 3.
There we go. That's fucking ridiculous.
You get the montage of the massacre of children.
Yes. Yeah, the no Russian of Star Wars.
Oh my god. All right. So to kick this topic off, I think we were briefly talking about it before. We both grew up very similar age groups. I think I'm only like a year older than you, something like that. Mm-hmm. So we both grew up on the Clone Wars. We both probably loved the Clone Wars. I think that was our first real interaction with Star Wars. Like, I mean, truthfully, like when it was coming out, like I was in the third grade when the prequels came out. I wasn't really gonna go see Revenge of the Sith as a 7 year old.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
I did, but not my dad's brightest move. But but so like when we really grew up at the age group where like we were starting to like mentally think about things and we're really becoming fans of something on our own and not just watching what our parents loved. I think it was the Clone
Mm,
Wars for our generation.
absolutely.
And
No.
we grew up on the chip. So that's always been kind of canon to me, but I'm loving this debate because I'm not sure how I feel about it.
It's what's nice is it can go back and forth. We as Star Wars fans can acknowledge there were time periods where both were correct,
Yeah.
or it just is simply one of those that it was sheer speculation. You know, you have one of, I don't even want to say issues, but bear with me on using that word, was that the expanded universe was a lot like, I'm going to compare it to Marvel, because it's
Yeah.
like there was no chip, and it's like, well, which one are you referring to? Are you referring to Star Wars 616, where Boba Fett fell into the Sarlacc pit the first time or the fourth time? And it was one of those where
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
depends on the author, the comic series,
Yep.
and for whatever reason, this topic came back to Twitter Lite,
And
and it's just
holy
been
cow, did it
hell.
ignite the Star Wars fan base,
Oh, I
which is
didn't
an
realize.
absolutely understanding, empathetic community that really values differ opinions.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Just share it all, you know.
Yeah. Toxic levels, League of Legends community, Star Wars community.
And so here, I'll just read off my tweets because I think it sets a good precedent
Mm-hmm.
of kind of where both of our heads are at, and we'll just kind of go from there. And so I said both made perfect sense for their respective times. When Revenge of the Sith came out, I could see that clones willingly turn on their generals if they committed treason. They were loyal to the Republic, but giving them unique identities in Clone Wars eliminated any chance of a no chip scenario. Um, so I'll break it down just really quickly and hand it back. So what I meant by that is when you only watch Attack of the Clones, when you only watch Revenge of the Sith, and maybe the original Clone Wars, Tartakovsky's, I'm butchering that last name, bear with me, there wasn't much personality to the clones. Some of them got named.
Yeah.
Fordo kicked ass. That was the end of it. We really saw like a true, more so soldier general say relationship there. You just follow orders. You know, you're a child soldier on an accelerated growth pattern. And you know, when you're Palpatine, it's a very, I think, Shogun versus Emperor situation in say in old Japan, because you know you listen to the orders of the Shogun, but the if the Emperor says turn on him, it's you're getting turned on. And then when we grew up with Clone Wars, you see that there was relationships, that the Jedi didn't want to be generals, but they were forced to be generals. They developed these bonds, these nicknames. We see custom paint jobs and just all of these identities bleed through the screen. And so the idea of having no chip, I think, is just incomprehensible, given especially the what was the arc in Clone Wars that was it starts with the U. It's not Utapau. It's the other one that's super dark. The 4 episode arc.
Oh God, one of the best.
Yes,
Okay, I know
I'm just gonna look it
exactly
up
what you're
real
talking about.
quick.
Yeah, look it up. While you're
Arc
doing that, I'm gonna
clone.
hop in.
Yeah, go shoot.
And so I really like where I think we're both gonna head in this direction.
Mm.
I can rationally agree to both sides.
Umbara arc.
Umbara, yep. God, that was so dark. That's not a
Loved
kid's
it.
show when you
Loved
watch
it.
those four. Like, can you
Trauma.
imagine like an 8-year-old watching that? Like,
I
there's no way
I
they're
I think it's
they're
us.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
we're
Like
I think we're messed up.
I didn't get that scene where like Anakin's battling with the light and the dark brother and sister until I
Hmm.
was like 18 and rewatched it with my girlfriend who's not my wife. Like we watched the whole Clone Wars together and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my God, this is dark.
So dark,
Like
ridiculous.
I loved it. I love the layering that they did with the Clone Wars. But as far as like I think it goes, like to me, I'm going to relate this back to history because this is obviously my strength. I'm a political scientist background, history background, currently an educator. Not for long, fingers crossed. um, but to me, the no chip, where it to me, I've seen a lot of really good breakdowns from people that know way more about Star Wars than I do.
Sure.
Is they wrote the original clones as a dig on humanity, specifically from the World Wars, where the clone trooper army was designed to embody, and the incompetency of the generals was designed to embody the failures of like World War I, where like the commanders were just like, we're taking this hill no matter the cost.
Mm,
And so that's where it's like, where you're Jedi, you're like, okay, turn on your leaders. Like, all of the pain they put us through, all of the incompetencies they've had, because the Jedi weren't leaders. Like, they were put into that role. And, and so that, like, I think that was a play against humanity in a way. Like, no, soldiers follow orders, regardless of necessarily the morals of them at the time. I mean, think World War II. Like, a lot of very immoral shit went down, and soldiers carried it out. They didn't stop and go, well, is this right or wrong? Should
yeah.
I be doing this? It was okay. Well, the general said do this. It's either I do it or I get shot for retreating. So I might as well just do it. I think that was one way you can view it. But I think with the chip, man, I think it adds, to me, it's a better story. It adds way more to the story, to the emotional appeal. I can connect with it a lot easier. It's a chip. They're controlled. They're meant to. The personalities that we love aren't just shattered by this one action. It's almost forgivable in a way. That's just kind of my take on it. But I want to entertain a couple more aspects of this, like a little deeper. Like, what are your
Sure.
thoughts on that, though?
I agree, for the fact that it feels deeper. I think it's one of those, it matched the time, because as soon as we had more depth to Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
we got something that was more in depth. It was
Yeah.
one of those that, for what, again, it was true for its respective time. Now, pre I'll say Clone Wars. We'll just call it pre Clone Wars era.
Mm-hmm.
Um, clone culture was very just, you're a clone of a Mandalorian. You are just Mandalorian juniors.
Yeah.
It is still canon that Mandalorians helped assist clone troopers and train
Mm-hmm.
clone troopers, but it was
Yep.
way more involved. Like Republic Commandos, the Omega Squad had
Mm-hmm.
had a Mando commander, and it just bled into the idea of clone culture was just man. It was very much so. I'm just going to use myself, like Italian versus Italian American culture. Like it just was a altered version of the original, and so the clones were loyal to the Republic. They were loyal to the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of why they were created. They were loyal to each other.
Yeah.
And we've seen many times in history where soldiers are just utilitarian. They are assets. They are expendable. And we saw it in the Umbara arc. And as soon as it went too far, and like I said, depth introduces depth. You saw Rex, commit what was essentially treason, and that
Yeah.
general was killed, Krill. And again, for that time, it makes sense for when it makes sense. But when that depth is introduced, removing the chip, I think, would have made it a little. It almost removes the horror aspect to it,
Mm-hmm.
because when you see Rex have tears come down his eyes when that command gets given and points towards Ahsoka, that's someone that's fighting for their own mind and
Yeah.
to control their own body. And I think that added, again, not a kids show aspect to it. Like, you're seeing body time get lost to a chip in their mind, and they're about to turn on their best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. Like, when you put it that way, I'm like a little shiver, right? Like, oh, damn. It's a good point. I was just kind of thinking of a couple things, like looking at some of. I just had this random thought, like complete ADHD squirrel moment.
Bring it.
I want to get back to your point here too, but I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
So I have mixed feelings about the Tales of the Jedi.
Yes.
Very mixed feelings. I liked what it added, but I didn't like how they did it. I guess I'll go with that.
Sure.
But I'm wondering if that could be added to, like, if this conversation can be added to like the tragedy of Count Dooku, because I think he's just a tragic character. He's
Yep.
he in Tales of the Jedi, he's shown as a Jedi who doesn't quite understand the Jedi Order, who doesn't quite agree with the way things are being done, and he acts out in what he believes is the right accord. He thought what was right was to leave the Jedi, and then got completely misused by Sidious, ultimately until his death. Um, And I'm wondering if this is just one more way that Sidious was able just to completely manipulate and abuse him. Was like, because correct me if I'm wrong, but Count Dooku's the one who set up the clone army, right?
Yes, it was an order given by, was it Tyrannus?
Tyrannus.
And
Yeah.
we later find out in Clone Wars that that Jedi is killed.
Yeah.
We presume by, by Dooku. I can start looking that up if we want. But yes, yeah,
But I'm wondering if Dooku and Tyrannus knew about the inhibitor chip, like while they were setting this up.
they did. They did.
Okay.
That was a failsafe. Very much so created. The Kaminoans specifically put in. That's why even in that arc with Fives, it's Fives kicks.
It's fives.
Yeah. It's just a. I'll just say Domino Squad. They do their best to fucking hide that chip and seclude that
okay,
clone.
I do remember that now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, but that's where I'm like, that's where to me it's like that's one of the coolest parts of Star Wars is just like how deep it can go, the layering it's there, like how many more storylines that you can get on this now.
Oh, and yeah, absolutely.
Whereas to me, I'm like to go back pre-chip, pretty cut and dry. Like it's pretty much
Yes.
like, okay, story's done. There's nothing more that can be added here. And I'd be okay with that. We have enough things that we can argue about and go deeper into and look at, like Vader's armor. Did you see the one where the Emperor like nerfed Vader basically with his armor? As a
No.
failsafe, that was a big argument. Really, you didn't see that?
Oh yes. Sorry. The failsafe. Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
I know
like,
what you're talking about.
imagine
Yeah.
getting nerfed by your master.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Too strong. Cut it out.
but and that's where I'm like, to me, like that just makes the Emperor's character just so much more believable, impressive, whatever you want to say. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I can agree with some of the pre-chip conversations. I like the way you put it. It fit the time. It made sense in the time. They're writing a movie, man. Like Star Wars is massive at this point. Like I understand, like Star Wars is a global phenomenon, but it still isn't even anywhere near what it has become. So I'm like, George Lucas notoriously is not great at script writing, and this worked. This was a good, like, plot flawless. Okay, no, they're loyal to a fault, and they carried it out. Now we have better storytelling. We've got better, deeper levels. Personally, I like the idea of there being a chip. I just think it's better storytelling. I think it's more intriguing for fans. It's something that's easier to grasp for people at a younger audience. Um, and that's just kind of where I like personally, like I think you summed it up just perfectly. Like I just think that wraps such a nice bow on it.
You went down a line of thought. I am so happy you went down. I never in a million years like thought of that, but like Dooku and Sidious's relationship. Funny enough that again, I'm gonna join you in squirrel moment. Literally last night, my last 30 minutes of stream was speaking about the tragedy of Dooku and how
Oh, really?
there, yeah,
I went to bed. I did
oh,
not
absolutely.
watch it
Yeah.
back.
No, it was literally we ended up switching to just chatting and
Okay.
watching deleted Clone Wars scenes and kind of discussing, and it just became like a one man podcast where Nova was kind of just adding to me.
Yeah.
And no, it was like literally a half hour about how upsetting it was that Dooku went from one side of a shitty coin to another in pursuance of what he thought was morally just and never
See,
never
that's the
got to
problem.
accomplish
You just
such.
shouldn't have morals. There it is. That's
Just
the end
drop
of the
it. Just
story.
drop it.
Yeah. Just
I
use
even got
morals.
into like politics with it, and I'm like, it's like
Oh God.
poor. And I stayed away from going too depth. I'm like, poor Dooku's stuck in a two-party system. Uh, and
Lol.
yeah. But I'll cut it. I'll cut it there.
More anarchist every day, baby.
Yeah, amen. More to my roots, huh? And I'll send you that when I upload that. I think I'm just gonna do that. But yes, I think, and you hit on it really well. I think this really does add to the sinister-ness of Sidious about how well orchestrated the plan was, how in just the sheer complexity of step one to step, we're just going to say 66, because of, well, if I get the Naboo politician to kick out the current president, I will go up for vote, and then it just kept going and kept going and
So
kept
have
going.
you seen the video that's pretty popular on YouTube It breaks down, and I believe it's still canon. It was
Okay.
canon for a while, so
Okay.
there. And I don't know if it is anymore. I need to read up on it, but there was the list of orders, like where you could go and read each of Sidious's orders. I think it was like 120
Oh, like
and two
66,
order
67.
67, 68. So
Yeah.
like order 64 was way worse than 66. Like there were some insanely awful plans, like up to the point of like complete genocide of a planet.
Really?
Yes,
I mean, they did
he
that to
had plans
Camino.
to purge, not Alderaan. We're not doing the "Here Comes the Sun" moment today, but he had like plans to completely like wipe the life of like a Naboo, for instance. Like with the clones would just go in, declare martial law, and then secretly kill the entire populace. But like Order
Yes.
64, like has always stuck out to me. Was like they had like if Sidious ever got dethroned or like voted out, they Order 64 was designed that the Republic like would basically be considered default, and the clone army would turn on Congress and resort back to the last elected leader as the sole leader of the clone army. Like he was
Wow.
that detailed to the point where like he had so many fail safes that like Order 66 was gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it or not, this is gonna it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be just unbridled, as a takeover.
Yes.
um
Yeah.
no, that's nuts. I do actually remember that list, and no, they were pretty gruesome if I remember, but the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, there was not a little bit of them, there was a lot. And
Yeah.
so remembering all of which is escaping me. Something that I do want to visit, speaking of say Sidious's plans, pre-chip, was the 501st Journal, where Tamara Morrison voice overed for the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, I believe released in 2005.
Yeah.
Taking the
Best
point,
best Star Wars game ever.
amen, and it's from the point of view, from my understanding, as a retired 501st soldier,
I think that's
and
correct. I think it's yeah, like he was there kind of remembering.
yeah, and kind of just putting it into I'll just say voicing a biopic of it. And
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I'm going
like
to
that.
avoid playing those clips just because of the fact that, there was the audio issues, but I will, let's see if I can just read them real quick. But those voice lines lead to, of course, a no chip environment, and it is almost it's again, it's another like horror aspect to the event of Order 66. So, and again, I'm not gonna paraphrase, I'm gonna quote, but I'm gonna try to chop it down as much as I can. But when it comes to Ayla Sakura, when the 501st finally rotated out of Felucia, Ayla Sakura made a point of seeing us off personally, calling us the bravest soldiers she had ever seen. It's a good thing we were wearing helmets, because none of us could bear to look her in the eye. And that depicts soldiers that know they're going to turn on her from the start, that they're going to turn on her, and that it's a facade. The war
Mm-hmm.
is an act, and they are just going through the motions. They're gears in a machine. And I don't know, what did you think when you first like truly understood that line?
Dude, that's one thing we were talking about right before we went live because your video wasn't working either.
Yeah.
Um, dude, like I said, like we were laughing right before because I was like, dude, I was like 8 playing this game. I was like, I'm ready to go to war with y'all. Like it's such a cool, like such a great moment. And like the emotion in his voice when he read through it, like just carries it. But when you really understand it later, you're like, wow, that is hard. Like that is so much harder to hear. Like
Yeah.
knowing, like, yeah, we're gonna go to hell and we're gonna fight in a godforsaken planet with you, die for you to protect you. Like, I mean, like remember the mission where they're protecting the down AT-AT and like,
Yes.
that just waves of CIS are just pouring over the hills. And I mean, they're just getting slaughtered, and they're like, thank God she was there because we wouldn't have survived the day without her. And they know they're gonna kill her. Like,
Like flat out, yeah, no, you have an expiration date, and we're the ones going to
yes,
do it.
yeah.
Uh,
Like, I'm like, that is just bonkers to me, and I think it just speaks volumes, like pre-chip, to just the severe, unbridled loyalty they have.
I
Um,
I did read something about that scene.
yeah,
Canon or not canon, I think you would. I think this would add a little bit of a thought process. You know how she gets shot? Like, I mean, just a fuckload, despite
oh
being
yeah,
on the ground. Apparently, that was a an order by Bly specifically, and it was to make her death quick because they did give a shit about her,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
they wanted to rip that band-aid off quick.
So
Now, of course,
so I
canon or not
read the same
canon,
thing about Keanu Mundi's death on oh God, what planet were they on?
that was
The Power Cell planet. It's
yes, I
not
know
Magito.
exactly which
Magito.
it,
Yeah,
it is
Magito.
Megiddo. Yep.
It's Magito. All right, I'm from the South, baby. Literacy rates. No, but they did the same thing with the clone trooper, making sure like the commandos were involved, like making sure they had a squad of commandos to take him out, and not just like the general populace.
There is so I have a Wikipedia pulled up. The quote from that one is just like the rest of them, though, he never caught whiff of what was really going on until it was
Yeah.
far too late.
Yep.
And so this I think this makes a really strong case for the clones turning pre-chip, especially the I'll just say the whole 501st journal because of the fact that everything was just very pre-conceptualized.
So I
It
don't know
was
though. I really don't. And while we're talking, I'm just having this epiphany.
yeah,
This is said as a remembrance. So this is years after the chip would have worn off. Remember, like in the Clone Wars, they say it has an expiration date. Like it was a bio chip, so it would have
yeah,
degraded. So I'm wondering if this, like, you could spin this as this is his like personal acceptance and almost therapy like reaction to it. Like even with the chip, like I think you can
yeah,
argue this to both arcs. Like just listening to these quotes for the first time in a long time, this has always been set in the future of the event.
yeah,
So I'm wondering if this is like his way of like dealing with the fact that like the inhibitor chip was there. Like if we can make
yeah.
that argument at least. I don't know if that sounds good to you or if
No,
it holds water, but
I think that's a really good way to put it. This is not only a story being told, but this is getting off his chest. This
yeah.
is like, truly dealing with because we saw in Bad Batch season 2, Commander Cody when he first meets up with Crosshair, you can almost see there's still confusion. I think that's the point where the ships start to I'll just say get eaten by the body. That's where the chips start to disintegrate and Commander Cody is almost confused as to he drops a few lines where he seems almost at a loss for words why he took that cannon shot or commanded that cannon shot at Obi-Wan. He seems confused. He seems in disarray.
Yeah, because
It's
Cody
for
was one that I wanted to talk about soon. So I'm glad you
oh
brought
yeah,
this one up. Yeah.
yeah, that relationship. One of the first lines of the whole entire Clone Wars series is Cody, what a good man from Obi-Wan. And it could be like that Commander Cody, a good man, something of that sort. But that was like line number like 2 or 3 in the whole Clone Wars show. Is
It wouldn't have been
Obi-Wan.
the first because the first one was the Yoda episode.
Oh, sorry. Maybe
But
second.
yeah, I know.
It's
exactly
like
what you're
it's
talking
right
about.
up there.
It's in the first couple of episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just the only reason I know is I'm currently rewatching.
Oh, are you?
Wars. I'm really tempted just to skip the first season because of how freaking bad it is.
Yeah. Maybe just watch Malevolence and call it a day.
Yeah, for real. Nah, I'm just rewatching it because I'm bored and there's nothing good on TV, and it's enjoyable.
No, absolutely, and I think that adds some perspective because that is a Jedi again forced to be a general Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
talking good about a soldier who in prior canon was just a number.
Yeah.
CT insert 4 numbers here, and again that layer of personability really does alter the rest of the story.
Yeah, because I saw a video. I think I sent it to you on Instagram, and I've never caught this. And I went back and watched the original release. Okay, so it's not like one of the famous Disney rewriting crap, which we won't get into politics today. But Han shot first. But it Cody literally moments before went and found Obi-Wan's saber and clipped it to his utility belt to give it back to him later. And then he throws it to him when he's
yes.
And I'm like like that shows a level to me that shows a level of friendship.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It stood out to me when I was watching it, and the guy that was doing the TikTok was like very impressed by the fact as well. And that's where I'm like, to me, like the inhibitor chip just makes the most sense now that we have so many of these emotional interactions between characters.
That is
Um,
a fantastic insight, honestly. I forgot all about that. Yeah, because before you would think that he would just like, hey, quick, hide this. The
yeah,
general dropped
yeah.
his saber.
He doesn't have a saber. Like get snipers on the mark.
Yeah, fucking get rid of him. The easy kill, easy kill. Dog water, he's ass.
He's behind you. They're peeking. They're peeking. Your ass. Your ass.
you're trash. You trash.
I
No,
love that.
absolutely
I
no. I
love
think he
that
would have
TikTok.
hid the shit out of it, or like
Yeah.
fucking destroyed it, shot
Or
it, whatever the
kept it
case
as a
might be.
trophy. Because I mean, because if it's done, look, my grandfather fought in World War II, and like I still remember as a kid, like him giving us like knives that Nazis had, like that when he killed, like he had a ton of like we'll say war trophies. I know you're not supposed to, whatever they all did.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely
He
did it.
had like so he had a Japanese saber. He had a bunch of because he fought in both theaters. He was in the Navy.
Mm.
And so it was his father. So it was my great grandfather. But my grandfather had all of it. And so like his father fought in D-Day and in the Battle of Okinawa. And so
Okay.
he got to see like both sides of the World War II, and he had so much trophies that he brought home. And like, dude, there's no way Cody doesn't keep Obi-Wan's saber as a trophy if he's not being controlled by a chip.
100%.
Like,
That's
imagine,
yeah.
like, okay, not to get crude on a podcast, but like, dude, imagine you're like, you're on your Tinder date, you're trying to land the deal, bro.
There we go.
I'm the man that has Kenobi's saber. like, like, you want my number?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
no, absolutely. It's in my trophy case.
yeah, like, come on, dude. Like, that's the biggest dick move you can make. Like, shy of having Anakin's sword or something like that. Like, dude, I got Kenobi's saber.
I'd put that shit on a chain. Are you kidding
Oh
me?
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The Kyber crystal would be hanging from one of my ears. Like,
Bro, I'd pull a vision moment and get that implanted.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Shit.
Oh my
Um,
god.
and so we did hit the 31-minute mark. I'm okay with us hitting say like 35. What do you think about me like just reading another quote from 501st Journal, the Nightfall quote, the specific
Oh,
one?
please do, please do.
Okay.
Do we need
All right.
some ambient music to set it?
Oh shit! Yeah, I mean, I could just play the clip, but you wouldn't be able to hear it, so that's unfortunate.
It's fine. I can quote it from memory.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I remember about the rise of the Empire is how quiet it was during the waning hours of the Clone Wars. The 501st Legion was discreetly transferred back to Coruscant. It was a silent trip. We all knew what was about to happen, what we were about to do. Did we have any doubts? Any private, traitorous thoughts? Perhaps. But no one said a word. Not on a flight to Coruscant. Not when Order 66 came down. And not when we marched into the Jedi Temple. Not a word. And, it almost reminds me of a few historic events where it's like all these soldiers may have disagreed with it. Had the idea in the back of Bly's head where it's like, I like my general. I care for my general. Why am I doing this? But because they were so unified in this following, it's almost like a Nuremberg trial case. Like these are orders, and no matter how gruesome, we're gonna follow them.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's honestly a really good like kind of capstone point. I don't know. Like I honestly, after having this conversation, I am even more convoluted on where I stand. So this did not solve any answers for me, but I'm sure. One thing I am sure of. The few Star Wars fans that listen to this will happily correct us
There we go.
with timestamps on where we were wrong.
Yes,
I am
absolutely.
sure of that, and they won't like the video, but they will correct us.
They will reply to the tweet, but not
But
retweet.
yeah, so the last thing I want to end on, and it is going to completely change gears. And so you said we can get to 35, so I'm gonna add this.
There we go.
I'm a massive CS:GO fan. Todd begrudgingly watches it when I tell him to.
There we go.
The major's on the last CS:GO major. I wanted to address this. I think it's amazing and horrifying that the goats of CS:GO, Simple, Nico, Navi, G2, will not be in the playoffs in the arena for the final CS:GO major. Navi, a
Yep.
team who has made every single major, will not be represented in the playoff arena. I think that is mind blowing. Um, and it's dominated by the tier 2 teams. There is Monty, there is Apex, and there is, I believe, Gamer Legion. Three not even tier 1 teams are playing in front of the live crowd, and they absolutely desecrated the top orgs. I think is a poetic note to end CSGO. A game that was started in the most like grassroots kickstart is
Hmm.
finalized with a majority of teams in the playoffs that are grassroots teams. I just think it is beautiful poetic justice. As sad as I am to see people like Nico and Simple not in the playoffs.
Um, I get a big kick out of how many bets are.
Hey, can we not
It's
talk
a,
about bet slips right now, Todd? Can we not? Can we not talk about
how
bet slips
many
right now?
people are calling their bookie going, fucking stop,
When
fucking
you come in
cancel?
July, you're gonna get your kneecaps broke. You hear me?
Fucking people out here taking second mortgages on fucking Simple.
I don't even want to talk about it. You hear me? Definitely not down a knife or two on CS:GO.
Oh, bro, it is insane how.
I should have taken the parlay. I know that parlay, $5 parlay. Okay,
Just
day one.
part of the
G2 would
code.
lose, FaZe would lose, and Navi would lose. Okay, again, it was like 30 odds. That like it was like negative 30, positive 30. Bro hit. He walked away with like $400 on a $5 bet. You know how much I lost?
$3.95.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Not happy. About $1.50.
Oh man, no, that is it's almost poetic. You know, it's very much so. I've looked at the history of the last 30 years of this company. They're a AAA rated. I'm gonna buy their stock. Fucking '08 recession, just right then and there.
I thought you were gonna name the bank that just collapsed.
Oh fuck yeah. No, that's another podcast actually.
That would be that would get a heated podcast. Let's not. People aren't ready for that episode. No, I think this is a great way to end it. We start off with inhibitor chips and end with another murder. So, G2 now loading up DE Airport, but
stupid. But yeah, let us know if you want more specific topics like this. We do love, we're nerds, surprisingly enough. And so if there's specific topics within a genre like this you want us to cover, or, you know, Order 66, prequels, original trilogy, etc., please let us know. The thing is, these topics can be anything, despite us being labeled as a gaming podcast. Doesn't matter to us.
We those of you that know us know we will debate about anything. We're both very strong opinionated. We're both educated. We'll do our research. Whether you agree with us or not, please let us know. We love doing these little side debates. We'll probably have another 30-minute debate off air. But we really appreciate those of you that are listening to us on YouTube and Spotify. Please continue to check us out. Go like both our pages, guys. You know that's how we're able to grow and reach more people. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next week.